Hello and welcome to Mead Wargaming and our new hobby podcasts that are going to be hitting you live in YouTube with our brand new setups, which hopefully you'll see a massive improvement in quality going forward. So I'm officially announcing this is going to be Season 3 or Series 3 of our podcast series. And we're doing a little shift focus. But before I go into all of that, let's introduce the team and move over, using my nice new shiny graphics, to the team camera. So with me today, on my right, we have...
It's Elle. Hello.
Just below.
Hello, it's John.
Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I'm gonna take the focus for a moment and just sort of introduce our way into the show. So, Season 3, or Series 3, whichever version you want to use. I'm not sure which one's more American, which one's more English. Season or series.
Whichever way.
I'm not sure which one, but either way, it's our new series, Season 3, with our new setups, new changes, hopefully a massive improvement in audio quality, which is something I've been struggling to get tie down, really, in terms of our podcast, but I'm hoping this is going to be a big improvement. As you can probably tell, we are now remote rather than in the same room. That is to basically accommodate the difficulties with the audio. Elsa's laughing in the corner there because we actually live in the same house. But
I love the idea.
He's right there, and I can hear him sat at the desk. It's so funny. I'm so sorry. It's so unprofessional.
Or the idea that this is all a lie, and that we're all actually in the same room. It's just a very elaborate setup now.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. John is literally just there.
Yeah, literally just off camera.
So hopefully this will be the sign of things to come and some new improvements. And with that is also going to come our focus now into the realm of epic scale gaming and Legions Imperialis. There have been some big things going on in the background, or should I say some very small things going on in the background. And so we're gonna focus our podcast more into the realm of Legions and epic scale gaming. So, with that in mind, today's focus is going to be on building narrative armies and what factions and lore for all those armies in epic scale gaming, which I think all of us have a good idea of what we are doing or what we want to do. So,
yeah, definitely.
So that's going to be the focus of what we're going to be doing here today. But before that, we do have our favourite little segment that we like to do at the start, the Tankard Talk. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over and we'll see you in just a moment. And welcome back. So, Tankard Talk time.
I have my
Indeed.
Tankard here.
What was that?
I have Tankard here.
Oh yeah.
I came. I
Oh,
had to get my
John's
own.
got his
'Cause I'm-
own. That's so cute.
Yeah, no,
It's
very nice.
go.
It's made a nice clay.
Oh, very nice. Yep. So we're all prepared with tankards for Tankard Talk.
We're all prepared with tankards. I love the fact that we're Mead Hall Gaming, and we have our tankards. We have that aspect down to a T. But what is in everybody's tankard?
Well, I'd like to say Mead, but it's Coke.
See, okay, so I literally just have water. I am on the lowest tier of it.
I have Monster Ultra Energy. I can't get it in the camera. There we go. Not sponsored.
At some point, we are going to have to do a proper Tankard Talk with alcohol involved.
With Mead.
With Mead.
Uh-huh.
I'm very down for the gradual intoxication video at some point.
You definitely will have to do that at some point in time.
We'll all just end up like burly space wolves, just like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The Nihilords are the best army in the Helsing. Go away.
Yeah, I don't know that will be the way it goes, but okay.
I mean, it would just be so funny just watching like two bearded men argue over like something like so stupid, like what a 40k army like is mostly a furry. That would just be hilarious.
We're in agreement.
I was going to say, the two bearded men are not going to disagree on that.
No. I was trying to think of if there is anything that we would argue on, and the only thing that springs to mind is my insistence on calling it the Gen 5 power armor. And that's it. That's all I can think of.
Yeah. That's the only thing we have a slight disagreement on.
Oh my god.
But anyway, let's rein it in a little bit, people.
Yeah.
So, traditionally, Tankard Talk for the first two series, our first two runs in our podcast, has been what you might call a sniping session at a certain individual, or individual of the week. I know certain people, Joel, dreads that time.
Shade.
So what we're going to do is we're going to shift the focus a little bit, and we're actually going to be a bit more sort of rounded. We're going to discuss everyone's hobby, and because of this new format and the way I've set things up, I can also include images. So we're going to hop over to another screen now, where I'm going to be able to display some hobby progress from our team, and also a special little bonus feature as well, which we'll come to in a moment.
Ooh.
Let's pop over to here. Okay, so here we are, our nice new display screen. And first up, we're going to take a look at some new, or an entirely new army that's been started.
Ooh.
Which is some Night Lords for Legions Imperialis.
Whose are they?
Well, whose are they?
They're mine.
You've done a fantastic job of painting this up as well. Like some proper expert level stuff here.
Yeah, okay, Jamie, you painted all of it. Jamie painted.
For a second, I was like, maybe.
Of course
Maybe.
not. No. No.
Interestingly, most of these have all been painted actually while on stream.
Yeah.
So just a shameless little plug, go and check out our Twitch streams.
Twitch.tv/Mead Wargaming.
Yeah, that's the one. Come and join us. They're every Thursdays currently.
That's so much fun.
So this is a selection of tactical marine stats. I think there are 16 bases.
Yeah, I have a lot.
Also some cheeky little plasma dudes as well.
Delightful.
And what you can't see at the moment, because I haven't taken the photos of them, behind me is the rest of the 2 infantry boxes, all done. As well as, I've almost finished up all the tanks as well this morning.
Oh, damn.
They are sexy.
I have got an entire Night Lord's army painted in about 2 weeks.
They're so good. He's done such a good job.
It's not too bad. So they'll be ready for the next Tankard Talk. But if you can't wait that long, go and check out our social media accounts.
Plug.
Look. So that's kind of been my progress, so to speak, on behalf of our Night Lords player. And there you go. That's the whole array there. So those were all done. Those were, in fact, I believe they were almost entirely painted on stream. Those models.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
In terms of the kind of the paint job and the approach that you take to them, are they painted on sprue and then cut out?
No, I take them off the sprues. I stick them on little pop sticks and with a bit of double-sided tape.
Spray them down. Was it your usual black, then lead belcher on top?
So these ones are obviously prime black. Then they have a coat of Corax white, Zenithord, and then a Celestian blue contrast over the whole lot as well. So, like 90% of the models are done with a dry brush, with an airbrush, and the tanks were basically the same. I just swapped out the Corax white for lead belcher. So these have been done in a similar style to my Alpha Legion. The vehicles do have a metallic tint to them.
Mm.
So they stand out a bit more, which I quite like.
And so is it just a, black on the guns, red on the shoulder?
Yep, black on the guns, red on the shoulders. Obviously, a couple of little dots for the servo studs. Bit of silvers for bits and pieces. The banners have all been done in a flesh tone.
Nice.
Gotta be Night Lords. In fact, I'm really, really happy with the banner for the command stand, which you can't see here yet, which has also been done in a flesh tone. But this time, I also put a little bit of a purple wash over it as well, and it just finished it off.
Nice.
So, yeah, and some of the command models have also got a bit of gold on them as well.
Okay.
So there's a little bit more that goes into some of them, and I did go ahead and put some lightning bolts on some of the models as well.
With the tiniest brush in the world.
They're not. I did say to him that if the lightning bolts are gonna be too much, just don't bother. But then he was like, "Oh no, I can do one on each model."
Yeah, I've done one. Well, I say that I've done sort of one on a shoulder pad and one on a leg per 5 models, so one on each stand. The exception that was the command squad that I've done, where they've all got a lightning bolt on.
Yeah.
Just because they're a bit more.
Just a mix up bit. Nice. I need to get some what they call the Vexalias with the back banners. Are they Vexalias?
Vexillers, yeah.
Yeah. I need to get me some of them.
Yeah, they're quite cool. They do help. They do help them stand out a little bit. I quite like them.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the current progress on the Night Lords. In addition to that, I've also painted up some more knights since the last time I've been sort of talking about stuff on the channel. These were, I think, again, fully painted on stream. So these are my Armiger Knights.
They're looking good.
Specifically the Helverin loadout as well. 9 of them. So that gives me 18 now in total. Which is quite a lot. And I've run them a few times in games. They're great fun.
Are they just little annoying run around shoot, or like how do they feel to run around?
They're just quite fun. They're quite nippy. They don't do a whole lot of damage. I mean, these ones don't do a whole lot of damage specifically. The combat-y ones, they do pack a punch if you can use them right. These ones don't do a whole lot in terms of actual damage output, but they're very good for just running up and stealing objectives.
Nice.
So I quite like them for that. So yeah, they're good. They're good fun. And if you run them in a knight household as well, they can actually hold objectives reasonably well.
Good.
Yeah, so they're quite fun. I quite like them.
Excellent.
So that's it from me, I think, for now. So next up on the list is John's progress. And here we have...
I finished off my Eldar Corsair Void Scarred kill team because I just wanted something that had been sat there half completed, and I just wanted to sit and get them all done so that I can then start to move on to other things that need to be finished, like all of my legions. But these are done now, so they're out of the backlog. Like, this is the thing. This is part of a backlog clearing process. So yeah, they'd been like base painted, but now they are all done, full team completed, based, ready to go.
Very nice. I mean, I particularly like that little birdie.
The bird was one of the last things that I did, and it's the one that I'm the most happy with.
Yeah.
So you can probably tell from the looks of them, just the actual like Corsairs themselves.
Got another one that we can have a look at.
Yeah, so the whole kind of like, can't quite see it as clearly on there, but you can see like the top of the head. They're not done in typical Eldar style. My idea for them was doing them up like the Dunmer from the Elder Scrolls games, so like the kind of dark elfy style, with then just kind of trying out a bunch of different things. They were done up with kind of a nice easy contrast wash, for the red, which was, I want to say it was the Army Painter Slaughter red, which is basically the same thing as like the Flesh Terrors red. And then the rest of it was mostly just done with contrast paint, and then a nice easy sand base, which if you go, probably, assuming I did cover on what the next one is.
Let's have a quick look.
You got another one. Go back again, and one more. Some of the sand that is on this one and on the other one is from Western Supermare.
Oh, great!
Genuine beach sand.
Genuine beach sand that I got when it was too wet, so I then had to bake it in the oven to dry it out.
No way! Oh my god!
Which raised some questions to my partner when I got back. Turned the oven on. They're like, "Oh, what's going in the oven?" And I was like, "Sand."
I don't like sand.
And just baked out the sand.
Good thing your partner is not Anakin Skywalker.
Of course, it gets everywhere.
Yeah, this one currently here, the sniper. I put it together because I wanted to play games with them, and then I realized the joy that I was going to have painting behind the gun and behind a crouched pose. So there's lots of that, which is thankfully done in black so that it's shadow, and I can just pretend it's not there. That
is the power of zenithaling everything.
It's not painted, it's just in shadow.
Exactly. That's the best way to paint, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now I'm well chuffed with them now that they're done, and I can put them on a table and have a kill team to play that is painted.
Yeah, sure.
Very cool. Right. I think we got a couple more from you as well.
We do. I can talk very quickly about these two. So this here was a little test that I wanted to do for my main 10th, and I'll talk about, if we get a chance to talk about it. And part of the reason why it is done as a firstborn is I've been looking at older editions.
Mm-hmm.
Most specifically, I have been looking at 4th edition. There is a little series that's currently going on with Mini Wargaming, who are doing like a playthrough of like as many different armies as they can, playing against each other in 4th, which got me onto like looking at some of the older rules and being like, oh, these are quite good fun. The other thing as well that's kind of swung me in that direction, having a gander at some of the older rules, is we played Inquisitor.
Mm-hmm.
Which, Jamie, have you ever played?
Nope.
Are you familiar with it at all?
Not really.
Awesome.
Kind of missed me somehow.
Awesome. I'll keep it very, 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 very short in terms of it. It was a 54 mil scale game, so like it had chunky big models. And the best way I can describe it is it's like D&D, but with like just kind of like it's D&D but Warhammer, but just the combat. So you roll up stats for each individual model you take, and you take like 4 guys at most, and then you can just run it as like a big narrative game, or we've done like a little skirmish thing, which was just like 1v1. And in from those games there, it's like the older rules, and that kind of then also spurred me down the thing of looking at the older rules and just being like, oh, games that are written more for like fun narrative perspectives rather than being super competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Not kind of constantly being updated, being like, well, we can't update it now. We don't have a good enough internet community to be able to keep this thing updated. So we're just going to go with this is this kind of where we're at. But in terms of the actual model, so the goal was to basically just do a very simple base paint job, and then try out Streaking Grime. I picked up a bottle of Streaking Grime, gave it a go. This was the first one I did. I'm not 100% sold on how it comes out. I'm happy with the results, but I'm still not 100% with how it looks, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how you did it, and what maybe if it looks any different in person, because I've done Streak and Grind before, my Alpha Legion, and they came out beautifully.
So, I mean, the approach that I was taking, so the approach that I did is I did like a very kind of I did a very basic paint job underneath. Actually, on this one, I spent more time. I did the black in the way that I usually do black armor, which is 2 different like heavy dry brushes of blue, so like a dark blue, and it was like I think it's like Thunderhawk blue and then Fenrisian grey on top.
Yeah.
To create like a blue-grey kind of effect, and then wash the whole, and basically just take the whole thing over with Black Templar, which then kind of like brings it down a bit. Then I just went in and just basically like the the guns, kind of everything else was just done with no wash, just like the kind of the base level of silver in the silver areas, gold in the gold areas, red in the red areas. The arms, the shoulder pads are done in a way that actually I'm really happy with the technique that I got for the shoulder pads, which is now it's a layer of Xandri dust, and then using a dry brush, you get I've got a Pro Acryl ivory. It's like a brighter ivory than you'd find like Wraithbone, and then I just like stipple it, and it creates this really nice like weathered effect on the shoulder pad.
Yeah.
And then just like black over the top for the cross, and then that whole thing I just basically just covered in streak and grime, and then whipped away with a Q-tip.
Okay.
Of
I think when I did the Alpha Legion, I did actually wash and use contrast on them beforehand.
Yeah, maybe a bit more of a finished paint job underneath.
Yeah, I did wonder whether I needed to, but now having you describe that and me seeing that, I'm thinking maybe it did have quite an impact on the final result.
Yeah.
So it might be worth trying it again, doing the full method, and then just using the streak and grime like I was intending to use it for, which was to just grimdark it, basically.
Yeah.
Right, well, thank you for sharing that little adventure that you've had. But speaking of adventures, we've actually had someone from our very small community at the moment actually send in some images of something they've been working on. You would have a look at what they've done. I've already spoken to them. They've given us permission to share these. So these are from a guy called David, who has commented on a few of our videos in the past, and this is their Legions Imperialis table that they've made.
Wow.
And I'm just having a quick look up to see if I remember how big the board is. There we go. So it's a 6 foot by 9 foot table.
Oh my god!
When you opened with 6 foot, I thought it was gonna be like 6 foot that way and like 4 foot or so across. No, that was the width. You started with the width at 6 foot.
Yes, this is a gargantuan table.
How'd you reach the middle?
With difficulty, I would have thought. So there are quite a few little shots here. Apparently, it's taken David about a year to put this all together.
I'm not surprised.
It is gorgeous.
There is some truly phenomenal works in here. Like the paint jobs are phenomenal. And I have to say, one of the scariest things about it is that it's almost entirely made from Games Workshop plastic kits. Like those road tiles are the Games Workshop road tiles.
Fair play. Yeah.
This is some serious commitment to the system.
Hey.
Oh my gosh! Look at the tiny itty bitty bases on a big ass board.
It does make like. Knowing that they're 25mm bases, it's like, this is so big.
Yeah, this is
epic scale. This is epic scale. This is truly
This is the definition of epic.
Wow.
He's done so good, like genuinely so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are some absolutely wonderous train setups. Would you like to actually know what it was made out of, because he has provided me with the details?
I just before that bit, I just want to say that Imperial Fists, like that picture there, it does make me go, they really do stand out nicely, don't they?
They do, but no. No. I'm putting my foot down. No.
Okay.
Unless you want to do like a small detachment as like a dark heresy, contingent, it's fine.
It's like telling off a small child, isn't it?
I know.
Come on, John.
Just can't be trusted. Right. So, what went into this?
What went into this? Wow, I can tell you quite a lot. So, let's start off with just the road tiles themselves.
Mm-hmm.
According to my information here, 9 boxes of road tiles.
Wow.
9 boxes of road tiles.
That's a lot. Woo.
In addition to that, 4 of the industrial terrain kits, 6 of the ruin kits, and 10 of the big sector boxes.
Wow.
Wow.
And apparently there's also a few bits and a few resin 3D printed bits.
Just a couple of extra. Wow. Yeah. No. I mean, it is stunning. It is absolutely stunning. Like.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing I would expect to see at Warhammer World.
Yeah. No. That is deserved of being at Warhammer World. That is like yeah.
Yeah. This is the table. This is the kind of table I'd want to walk into a well prepared gaming store or a Warhammer store.
I was going to say, I don't think some of those kits you can even get anymore, can you?
Possibly not some of the bigger kits, but the smaller individual ones you can.
I mean, it is commitment to the bit, and.
GW need to give him a job and discount.
Well, yeah. Apparently, they're now working on. I think was it 2 or 3 armies. And I think one of them definitely sends a Horus, and I think a Death Card army as well.
Nice.
So yeah, there's some more stuff to come from David. But this is just mind blowing.
I will await with bated breath.
This
Yeah.
This will take some living up to.
Yep. Not even gonna try.
I mean, I don't know that I'm going to try and live up to quite that scale in terms of that, but I'm definitely got the plans for some Legions boards for the channel. Probably not with that much plastic though. Yep, that is it. So, thank you very much, David, for sending those in. It was an absolute pleasure to review that and have a look. And I'm sure we can all agree that we very much hope to see some future progress on some armies now, because I think you've got more than enough terrain.
Yeah. God.
I think that's enough terrain for forever.
Yeah.
You certainly got enough for a city board anyway. It's when you start getting to the dark realms of doing other environment types.
I'll look forward to seeing rebuilding Terra. The entirety of Terra.
Oh my god.
But he would do it. He could do a fine collaboration with Zorp and his Siege of Terra mega board.
Yeah, just slap that on the end and be like, "This is Terra. This is the city around it, and then this is the main place."
Yeah. No, David's board could be like the cities below the Himalayas, and then you've got Zorp's Imperial Palace in the background. That would be an epic little setup, I think. I say little. I mean, that would probably take up a small hall.
Yep.
So, right. I think that is it for Tankard Talk for now.
It's good Tankard Talk.
Cheers.
Instead, we're now going to move over to the main topic for today. So we'll see you in just a moment.
See you then.
Oh.
And welcome back. So, it is discussion time. The main segment, the main portion of the show, where we discuss something relating to Warhammer, and specifically, mostly, probably, Legions Imperialis and epic scale gaming. And today's fine topic of discussion is narrative army building.
Yeah, boy.
Building your factions, building your armies, revolving around narrative, and, the various elements to doing that. And I think it's quite safe to say that we've kind of picked our Legion's armies predominantly based on stuff that we like in the lore, or something that we would like to see on the table in mass scale.
Or someone. Sorry.
Or someone, in your case. And I think Legions also gives us quite a nice setting or background or platform in which to create some broader narrative armies than we would in, say, 28mm scale games. Like, for example, my own factions. So I'll quickly go through those now. So I have sort of an umbrella faction, which doesn't really have a name because they're just a bunch of factions that work in together. And at the head of that sort of pyramid, so the masters, if you like, is the Knight household of House Dracaran, which is obviously an invention of my own. And then going down the tiers, or going down from that point, you have their allies in Legio Invictorum and Titan Legio. There's also the Etherion Auxilia, or Etherion Auxiliaries, which is the sort of mortal contingent that serves the Knight household. And then sort of off to the side just a little bit, just sneaking in and hiding in the background, is the Alpha Legion, who have a mysterious tie to all of these things, mainly because I just like Alpha Legion. And, I feel like I need to have at least one faction that is based in the lore as part of my super faction. So I've got one there, and then I've got 3 others. So I've actually got 4 major factions, or 4 armies in one faction.
Yeah.
Els, on the other hand.
I'm predominantly Night Lords. The obsession has not stopped. The hyperfixation is still there. Jamie has been very kindly, as we just talked about before, painting my entire army, because I honestly could sit here and cry about even thinking about picking up a brush. There's so many reasons why, but the main one is that I just don't want to. That sounds really bad, but so I have some special units on the way that Jamie is lovingly preparing for me.
John, what are you bringing?
Yeah, so after many a pivot, just to various different ones, the army that I am sticking with is predominant. Well, actually, it's going to be a mix. It's going to be a combination of word bearers and Dark Mechanicus.
Oh, so you are doing Dark then.
It is going to be Dark Mechanicus. So I've been musing in terms of kind of what I kind of want to do with it, and where I think I'm going to lean for at least for the first bit. I've got lots of Marines I'm going to paint up. I've got loads of Marines. They're going to be done, but then alongside them is going to be a Dark Mechanicus. And actually, I think as a kind of a narrative spin and kind of the element of it is that I actually want to end up with, in that similar idea of like your hierarchy, it's like my actual kind of characters, my focus is going to be Dark Mechanicus. And then it's a like word bearers contingent that was like sent to go and assist the Dark Mechanicus in their setup.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have have HQs which have like a lot of like tech priesty kind of style. The what they called in Chaos.
I don't know what they are in Chaos.
Warp smiths.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like word bearer kind of warp smiths and things like that. Like kind of that combination of not doing demon engines in the same way as like Iron Warriors, but doing demon engines in like we're going to get demons and we're going to get like big Mechanicus kind of war engines and things like that. Probably throwing in some knights in there as well. I've been toying with some ideas in terms of kind of how I'd want to do the knights. One idea that I had was kind of, I found some stuff for doing like basically spider legs that are meant, like mechanical spider legs that are meant for 28mm bodies, and having those on the knight bodies. But
yeah, that could work quite well.
Something just to make it a little bit different.
Yeah. So with the knights, is that just going to be like a side addition to the Dark Mech, or is that going to be its own mini faction as well?
I haven't really decided. The problem I have with the again, we're getting a little bit ahead of it. Is I like the idea of the knights, and I've got Titans as well that are going to go into it. They're going to be again like a part of the like a part of the Dark Mech. But they're going to be more kind of leaning. I haven't got names and stuff like that, but they're going to be more kind of leaning word bearers-y, with the idea being is like the big armor panels. The idea I want to have is basically have like chaos scripture down all of the armor panels. They're essentially they're leaning into that idea of like being walking cathedrals, but they're walking cathedrals to the ruinous powers.
I've got or at least I know a designer that's done some really nice chaos versions of all the armor panels for all the knights.
I had the idea, and I probably want to get like or maybe I just do it on all of them. I sent you that Lorgard model when we were on stream. We're chatting on stream. Doing like quadrant on the knights, so they have like a quarter dedicated to each of the Chaos Gods.
That would be very cool.
Mm.
And weirdly, it would actually be our channel as well, wouldn't it?
It would tie in nicely there. Okay, cool. So we've got a nice little mix at the moment, just based on the three of us here, because we've got my sort of kind of loyalist, potentially not. We've definitely got the definitely not in both the Night Lords and the Word Bearers. We've got the Night Lords. From obviously what I know from off camera is that they're less demon focused and much more Astartes focused. They're a lot less demonic. Whereas I'm assuming, based on what you've already said, that the Word Bearer is going to be, or the Word Bearers, the Dark Mech form faction is going to be much more demonic in their essence.
Yes.
Will you be including some actual demons?
I didn't know if I wanted to go into that, but yes. Like
But I just wanted to tease it out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Whether the rules are official or our own.
Yes. And we can also confirm, which has already been said on previous streams, at previous podcasts anyway, our absentee team member today is also bringing their own faction, a very narrative-focused faction in an Eldari faction.
Very interesting.
Which is very interesting. And I have had the pleasure of playing against it once. Interesting. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what that's going to be about. But sadly today we won't get any more details on that one. So we'll focus on what we do have and what we're going to do, which is nice and fun. So what I think we'll do is we'll have a little discussion about what makes an army narrative, or what makes what we're doing narrative. How do we translate our narrative into our armies? Does anyone want to go first?
I can start to go first. Mine is going to be relatively straightforward, because like a lot of what I've currently got is pie in the sky kind of ideas, nothing really kind of tied down yet. But to talk about what I'm going to be doing, and I know in our setting of it, we're kind of a little bit agnostic in terms of where we sit within like the timeline of 40k.
I mean, yeah, the idea behind what our games will be is we will be more or less in the modern era of 40k. Yeah. We're not restricting ourselves to being in 30k settings.
But what I'm kind of going to be, at least from the word bearer's perspective, what I'm going to be doing is kind of having more normal troops as like the troops, but essentially where you've got like leaders and things like that, they're going to be more chaos corrupted. So kind of leaning into that idea of maybe like it's in it if we're doing like modern settings, but maybe they're not quite as corrupted as like all the others, but the ones that are the leaders are going to be like super kind of chaos corrupted, have all the spikes, have all the kind of the accoutrement as it was, without me having to basically then go through and redo everything I've already got ready. Basically is what I'm trying to skip out on doing. So yeah, so in terms of then how that is going to look, I've gone very much the classic, at least Heresy era, word bearers color scheme, which I realise probably really hasn't changed that much into the modern era.
It's pretty much stayed the same, I think.
Just the key difference being is there's a lot of silver trim, which I do not want to do at 8mm scale.
Oh my god, no.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the massive advantages of the Heresy era armors that we have for the 8mm scale, because you skip out a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it's also one of the major things that would always put me off doing any of the Chaos factions, like the true Chaos factions. I mean, I like my Alpha Legion, but I love them from a narrative perspective, but they're the only ones I'd ever consider actually collecting, because as much as I love Thousand Sons, World Eaters, Emperor's Children, even the Death Guard I quite like. I mean, I'd love to do like the 4 flavors of Chaos. Trim, no, I'm done.
No. Yeah, and that's the thing is that I'm basically avoiding that aspect. So color scheme wise, that's basically what I'm going with is the kind of classic Heresy era. But as they get more towards the kind of the commanders, I've got some good little commanders ready to go, in the sense of they're made, but they're not like painted yet. Otherwise, they would have been on this section, on the Tankard Talk. But yeah, the color scheme for them has been relatively easy. But weirdly, it's then made my other considerations of color scheme harder, because I want to go, okay, my Dark Mechanicus, what do I want to go here? If I go, kind of 2 black, I feel like black's a really hard one from a Legion's perspective, because I don't know how you make it stand out on the table. That's my biggest concern, is because I toyed with lots of different ones, armies wise. When I was looking, I looked at things like Dark Angels. I was like, Dark Angels, cool, but it's a predominantly black army, which means that how are you going to make things really stand out? And it's like doing black armor at 28mm is hard to make things stand out. You're talking about 8mm, it's going to look like you've just primed them in black, maybe chucked a bit of red on them, and then off they go.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from there.
So like with that Dark Mechanicus, a lot of like the designs that are coming out of GW, the ones that they've done, are black with a gold trim. They've gone very like the Black Legion. So there is a thought of kind of basically painting them up like word bearers, but then there isn't any variety. Or kind of looking at some other options around kind of painting them up. I haven't settled on what they would look like yet, in terms of their color scheme. And similarly, the difficulty with kind of picking out color schemes for like the knights as well. Again, things that look in good contrast to word bearers is then difficult to bring across in real kind of terms. So I think the problem I've had a lot with the 8mm stuff is, at least from my end, the paint schemes.
It's not really the purpose of this podcast, but I've got an idea for you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say white or off-white as the primary colour, because It's very rarely used by any of the traitor legions and any of the sort of chaos factions. But in Heresy, when the World Eaters have it, it's so striking. And I've also seen a handful of Chaos Knights painted up like that in like an off-white creamy colour.
Yeah.
And you just dirty that up a little bit and it looks phenomenal.
Might have to be an option.
And it will stand out like polar opposite to your word bearers.
Yeah. That would be, I think I might just have to get over the white phobia. The difficulty with painting white armour.
White's not that hard on Legions. You just spray it white and put Nuln Oil over it, done.
Yeah, true.
That's what I've done on all the little apothecaries, they turn out fine.
Yeah, okay. No, I'll give it a go.
Give it a go, see how it works. That's just a thought that ran in my mind then.
I think I do quite like the idea though of doing the Titans up in like the 4 quadrant colours, especially the big ones.
That could be very cool.
And like get some like different like chaos markings on each of the sections.
Yeah.
And they would be thematically appropriate for our channel background.
Yeah, that's very true.
In fact, your largest Titan, we could use as the mascot.
Yeah, if I get it good enough, I mean, yeah.
We could have a channel mascot, which is a Titan.
That would be fun. That would be very funny.
It would be very fun.
So yeah, I mean, that's the kind of at least thought of the paint scheme in terms of then the where I'm coming at with them. I think lore wise, I haven't really kind of nailed much down as of yet. I think I'm definitely going to be, once I start to get some Mechanica stuff in there, that's where I'll start to kind of pick apart some of the lore. Because word bearers are going to be essentially the army that I'm going to have to like learn the game with a lot more. And then Dark Mech is where I kind of want to get the character side of it in. Pulling in some different designs and some different things in there to make them a bit more specialist.
Okay.
And I think I'll probably try and lean, into maybe like the what are they called, like the knights that are Mechanicus specific as well. I thought they could be quite good.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially as they've just announced that they're coming out in plastic.
That might have been a contribution.
Because I mean, I know I intend to pick up a few for my knight household, but my knight house is much more traditionalist, so I wouldn't have very many of those ones. So it'd be quite cool to have when we go against each other in games. It'll be quite interesting because my knights will be much more traditional with the handful of the Mechanicus ones, and then yours will be probably almost into
more Mechanicus, but
Mechanicus focused.
Yeah.
So that will lend itself to a quite nice asymmetry on the table.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Shall we move on to myself or Els?
I can go next if you're... Yeah, sure. So obviously I am I'm obsessed with all of the lore side of things mostly. So I'm definitely got a lot more of a handle on like my lore stuff. Specifically my character, like my army leader, as it were. If you watched the stream, then you probably heard me mention him before, but if you haven't, then go and watch the stream anyway. That's uploaded on YouTube, but also I'm going to tell you again, so you're going to have to listen to me talk about it again. Obviously, this is good for you, John, because obviously you weren't there. So, yeah. So I have a captain in the Night Lord's army that I have. His name is Atropos Calcutha, and he is known as the Rattleplate. Do you want to hazard a guess why he's called the Rattleplate, John? Because Jamie is looking very smug because he came up with the name after I had a toddler's attempt at naming it. It was terrible.
I mean, I'm drawing a blank in terms of the rattle plate, but please, I'm fascinated.
He pulls the teeth from his victim's mouth and decorates his armor with it like a little necklace because he's a diva. And when he walks or he's running,
He gets a jingle.
it's the teeth jingle jangle on his it's like that Markiplier meme where he's go back in the day jingle jangle. It's like that. But yeah, so he is the captain of the Superios, which is my special Chaos Sea Marines missions kind of peeps. They get sent in to F shit up, basically. That is their job.
I love that you censored one of those, but not
I know,
the
others. I went with the least offensive word to say out loud. Is that okay for YouTube? That should be fine.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
It's further enough into the video. It's fine. So basically, Atropos's whole deal is that he is innately obsessed with his Primarch. He has had premonitions of his Primarch since the day that he joined the Legion. There's something that I'm going to write about that's messed up with the gene seed, so that he actually recalls other Astartes memories from the Horus Heresy. So he is actually living with the memories of other Space Marines who fought and died alongside Comrade Kurz during, obviously, the days of the Horus Heresy. And basically, because of those visions and because of the just the messed up way that the Night Lords conduct themselves, he has just become obsessed with the Primarch and obsessed with living up to him. So that basically has twisted the way that he sees himself. He's not really got a sense of identity. He has just made it his entire life to basically be on the same level as Comrade Kurz. So he grew his hair out. He stopped brushing his teeth. He has become like almost a shadow of himself and almost like a Comrade clone. He's very self-aware. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's also very clever with the way that he does it and the way that he conducts himself around his like battle brothers. But he is in denial about how far gone he is. And he has gotten himself into a lot of trouble by calling himself the lost son of the Night Haunter. It has caused a very tense atmosphere with the Superios because they don't agree with what he's doing, but because he's very good at what he does on the battlefield, they're kind of just doing the whole Night Lord thing of, okay, we're gonna let that slide, but you're crazy, dude. Like, don't do that. But yeah, he studies literature written about the Horus Heresy. He studies like just all of this stuff about Comrade Kurz. And I have like this innate vision that if Comrade came back, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that the moment that Comrade would look upon this Marine and see basically like an action figure version of himself, he would just like take a step back and be like, who are you? And either just like or would just be like, I'm gonna ignore you because you look ridiculous. That kind of vibe is what's is what could happen. I'm not saying it will, but it could. We don't know yet. But yeah, so that's that's like the main thing that I've been working on. Obviously my torture boys they're growing. I've got a lot of different bits and pieces in the army. I'm not great at remembering all of it, but I do have some very sexy Terminators that Jamie has painted up for me recently. They are by far my favorite bit of the entire army. Obviously, I haven't seen the tanks like finished yet. Like I already I love tanks so much, and I've recently made the decision to have like a focused army that's mostly Space Marines. I think I'm gonna take Flyers and the Knights out of the equation for now and just focus on the boys, because, and this is the honest bit, is the fact that I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to the Knights just yet. And I've just got a really good understanding with the Marines. So I think I should probably, with Jamie's advice, like we've talked about it like quite a lot, I came to the conclusion that I should probably just focus on the one thing, get really good at that, and then move on and complicate it a bit more for myself, because otherwise every game that I play will just be exactly how it was when I was playing Jamie's Alpha Legion with all of the Flyers. It will be like way too much. My brain will just be like, okay, so I've got this to worry about and all of this to worry about. Yeah, that's not gonna work for me. I'm gonna forget about all of this, and then literally like in the last term when I'm losing the game, I'm gonna go, oh yeah, I forgot that I can do that. Like how when Jamie and I played a game last week, I forgot to deep strike my Terminators, and if I had deep striked them like a turn earlier than I should have done, I probably would have had a tiny bit more of a chance of winning the game. But yeah, so that's sort of where I'm at. I'm not sure, obviously, like if you've got any questions or anything, ask me, but I don't think I've got anything else to say, really.
I think that is a delightfully comprehensive lore and far more characterization than I've put into anything that I've done so far.
Oh, I love him so much, and I love it when a character has so many, like, just doesn't know what the hell is going on.
I love that there's all the setup with your payoff from this seemingly being, they're going to get killed as soon as
that big boy gonna turn up, and he's just gonna put a hole through his face, and it's gonna be great.
You love a tragic story, don't you?
Yeah, it's the she-wolves all over again. She-wolves mentioned, but it's gonna be like that whole thing all over again, like where like I focus on a one person for like so long, and then someone else turns up and is just like, I don't really care about you anymore, you can die. And then it's
I do like your idea though, but from both like a gameplay and a narrative standpoint, of that you're focusing just on like the Marines.
Yeah.
Like it's Marines and land vehicles in the sense of, I'm presuming, just like the tanks and the land raiders, like rhinos as transport.
So I've got so as far as like land vehicles go, I have Sicarans, I have Kratos, which I love. They're like so tough, they're amazing. And I've got Land Raiders, which surprisingly for transport vehicles, they like can shoot really well, which was a nice surprise.
They're Land Raiders. That's what they do.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I kind of expected them just to be kind of meh, but I was really impressed. So I was glad about that. And I will be getting my own Predators, but at the moment I'm having to sub them with Jamie's Alpha Legion. I'm pretty sure I'm not missing anything. I'm pretty sure I have 2 lots of Sicarans though, or I will have 2 lots of Sicarans. But I do intend to be very bulky when it comes to tanks. I'm gonna get some what are they called? Begins with S. Spartans. Thank you. Yeah, I will be getting some more of those, just so, because I'm very infantry based. Yeah. So I want to shove stuff in transports to get it up the board, especially with like some of the missions that we've been playing and stuff. The reason why I've been so behind when it comes to points and stuff is because I can't get up to the board to get up to objectives. So I want to get some of those so that that can help me with that. So yeah,
I like that. I don't know whether this was an intentional, like from a narrative perspective, but I like that it's very much like it's a faction that goes and gets their hands dirty.
Yeah,
like they don't want to let anybody else go. No, we're going to do it ourselves. We're not going to shoot them from over there. We want to make sure that we can go in and get it done. I was going to say, with our ability to come up with our own rules for stuff, you should have a look at the Mastodon.
Yes.
I think I did show you that on stream a few weeks ago. The massive transport.
Yeah, it's like several Land Raiders stuck together.
Yeah, it is super cool. I probably will at some point, as long as the we are financially able for me to like dive into like buying loads of stuff. But yeah,
Mastodon's not an available kit at the moment, but yeah. I have seen some 3D printed ones.
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind getting something like that. That's a little bit. It's a little bit different. And the Night Lords are I think they're very different to a lot of the factions. So we'll see.
I think a tank heavy, like Night Lords faction is a really interesting way to take it, because it's not the kind of typical thing you'd see from the Night Lords.
Yeah.
They
it's almost like a dark. You've almost gone for like a dark version of White Scars. Almost they've almost become a very hit and run or mechanized force.
I was going to say it's almost like a version of Iron Hands.
Yeah, except the Iron Hands are much more like artillery and range focus, whereas the Night Lords that Elsa's got at the moment are much more sort of infantry mechanized.
Yeah, but just because like White Scars, I would always assume in terms of actually what I also have as an area that I wanted to dip into is that much more fast attack approach.
Yeah, I mean, White Scars are stereotypically thrown in with just bikers, but they also are very well known for mechanized assault.
Gotta go fast.
Fast as fluff, boy.
I'm gonna take the focus for a minute, because I've noticed something that's quite interesting about both of you.
Okay.
It's quite an interesting point to note about creating narrative armies, and that is you've almost got the top up approach and the down up approach, or up down. You get what I'm trying to say.
Top down, bottom up.
That's the one I'm looking for. So we've got the two methodologies almost of designing a narrative force: the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach. So we've got John's approach, which we come into straight away, which is I would kind of see as the sort of the bottom-up kind of approach, where you've kind of got the groundwork of an idea, and you're kind of building up this sort of metascope of a faction, whereas Elsa's gone for the sort of more top-down approach, where she's found a character or an individual and is building that force from that point onwards. So the narrative is starting quite small, quite high up, and then building out the foundation. Whereas you've built your foundation and are working up towards the sort of the aesthetic final piece.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting way of approaching things. You've kind of gone two completely different routes. And what's more interesting, I think, is that Legions, from a glancing perspective, isn't something you'd immediately think, oh, I can make interesting characters for, because of the scale. And I think that's not quite true. I think that there is scope to tell interesting character stories in that epic scale. It's just the way you do it slightly different.
Yeah.
It's not gonna stop me.
Well, clearly hasn't. And I think that's also one of the good things to note here is that it doesn't matter what inspires you to make the army, so long as you're happy with the way you've done it and you're happy with the end result. Which is quite nice. I think that's something that we should be taking away from this straight away, is there is no right answer to how you make a narrative force.
Yeah.
Whether it's the inspiration of the factions that interest you more, or the colour scheme, or whether it's an individual character from an individual faction that you happen to like, so you create your force from that. Mine, for example, very much initially was just, I'm just going to go Alpha Legion.
Yeah.
But I painted up a couple of Titans and thought, oh, this is really fun. I like painting big, stompy robots. And then I went and made a 4,000-point Knight army.
Yeah.
So it's like these smaller zombie robots.
Yeah. I just found that I really enjoy painting that part of the game. So for me, I kind of just accidentally fell into painting robots because I found them really enjoyable.
You did also have the advantage of your love of dragon-themed things.
Yeah, I literally was gonna say that.
The little banner just off of the shoulder.
Dracaris. I'm just saying, you know.
It was intentional.
Leave some dragon for the rest of us.
It was quite intentional. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, it led to me being able to work in a little quirk of my own, which I enjoy, and try to shove in everywhere I can. So, yeah, it works out. So it's interesting that we've all kind of we've all started from a different place, and sort of built from a completely unique standpoint, a different perspective.
Yeah.
So that's quite fun. I quite like that. So one thing I think would be interesting, sort of, because we've kind of touched on it already when we were talking about paint schemes, and I think this is probably more relevant to my army and John's army at the moment, and that is when you're doing cross-factional armies. How do we tie them together, or how do we not tie them together? You know, is it important to tie the armies together, and if so, how? And do they have to be totally ubiquitous? So obviously, I've already mentioned that I've got 4 armies as part of my faction. Every single one of them has a completely different colour scheme. They are entirely different and very purposely different. I've got the sort of I've got the very industrial, grimy Solar Auxilia Force. I've got the slightly more colourful Alpha Legion. Then I've got the much more, still grimdark, but much more not quite flamboyant, but more aesthetically pleasing Night Household. Still quite grimdark, but still quite bright with the big reds and the coloured banners. And then for the Titans, I just went all out, and I've got this big, gaudy red and goldish colour scheme going on. So the 4 armies are completely different and almost different scales of brightness. But the thing that ties them all together is the exact same basing scheme. They're 100% the same. I use the same basing materials. I use the same little additions to the basing. So it kind of all ties in together that way. So when I put my armies on the table, you kind of know that they're all together, just from a glance. John?
I think in terms of kind of where at least I'm going to be going with, like, by the way, I fully agree with you, and I don't want to make all of my armies in the same colour. Like if I was going to do solo auxiliary, probably at some point I will do. You know, might as well try everything out when it's the scale that it's at. But I very much want to make sure that everything is coming in with a slightly different style to it. I think I'm not going to go as far as having like 4 different color schemes for everything. But I think it is very important to make sure that everything does get tied together. I think the base is a really good one to do for kind of tying stuff together. You know, one of the things I'm thinking about is on like the knights, because they've got so much space around them. I was going to do some like Marines running with them, like on the base, so that it kind of ties it in to be like, okay, yeah, these guys are working together, that kind of stuff. Because that's the nice thing about Legions is that you can chuck a few Marines on the base and it's not going to matter. You know, like you've got so much kind of room to build stuff and do interesting stuff with it. And just not to kind of circle back to away from Legions just for a second, but to something that was in Tankard Talk, I was saying about the Eldar kill team. And on that, one of the things was like, okay, they're all in the same like armor, but they also all had all the models came with like a basic little like thing that's like tied around there, like a little bit of cloth that's tied around there. And I was going to do them all in different styles, but I intentionally went, actually no, I'm going to have them all in like that same kind of color, like that's their like thing that they've got tied around them. And then when it came to the final one, which was the bird, that's the only model that doesn't have a thing tied around their arm, but they've got this big trailing thing coming off of the bird. So I was like, oh, that's their like unified thing. Like this, like the bird is kind of like their unified, the thing that kind of pulls them together as a team. As you know, because I was like, the big thing that I did is if you look at the entire range of the ones I did them all with different hair color, just because I was like, it looks fun just to have them all as like wild, kind of different kind of punky style hair. So I think on that kind of tying stuff together is I think going to be really, really important. But I don't want to go into it and have a bunch of factions that are all painted up in the exact same way, because I get bored of painting the same thing.
It does very much help having a couple of different schemes to mix things up a little bit.
And I'm now thinking on. Part of it. I'm saying thinking on your statement of doing like the dark mech in like the off-white. I'm like, oh, I really want to do that now.
Okay, cool. Obviously, Els, you don't actually necessarily sort of have a tertiary or a secondary army planned in, although you do have some knights.
Yeah.
Do you stand on sort of mixing colour schemes, or would you prefer your knights to mirror the Night Lords, or would you like them to be very different? Obviously, from a painting standpoint, you don't care because I'm painting it.
Yeah. I think I would probably have, like I said before, like probably the same paint scheme, so that it's, like I said, like this swarming, like dark blue tide, because I think that would probably, like on a battlefield, that would probably be like pretty scary.
So potentially we could see you with a set of knights in midnight clad plate with lightning bolts running through it.
100%, yeah. But that's only if you'd be up for painting that.
Oh, I'm sure I'll learn.
I'm enjoying this being able to pass the buck. You can be like, I'd like this.
Yeah, I have done that a couple of times, and then I've gone, I'll buy you a box of plastic. And he's just kind of gone, yeah, okay, sure, why not?
Getting paid for it in plastic, crack, I'm okay.
Yeah. You don't have to buy your own plastic, which is, it's always fun. And I get like amazingly painted models to put on the tabletop. So, it's a win-win either way, really.
Yeah. So I will paint models for plastic, crack. That's what we're saying.
Basically. And I don't blame you. Like, it's
I'm just out here being like, how much would I have to pay?
I mean, I have a 40k She-Wolves army that you are happy to have as a side project.
No. Well, I think what John is saying is he's trying to work out whether he can afford for me to start painting his Legions armies.
Oh, right, okay, I see, yeah. I thought you wanted me to buy you plastic, crack, John.
what we'll look at now is the concept of modelling and kit bashing armies, specifically for Legion scale. As particularly myself and John are quite familiar with 28mm modelling and adding flavour to our armies through custom bits, conversions. Myself, quite a lot in green stuff as well. I'm pretty sure you're not quite so green stuffy.
Done like a little bit here and there, but not too much.
Whereas I've done quite a lot, but we've both been quite into 3D printing extra bits. But Legions presents an interesting challenge because that's not as easy, just by nature of the scale. Now, I've found my own workaround for that, which I'll go on to in a moment. But how do we think we can go about doing our own thing in terms of making our armies look more thematic?
I mean, I have kind of there's lots of scope within 3D printing parts to make stuff at a Legion scale. I think I haven't kind of nailed it down fully yet, in terms of how I would have, how I'm going to be going about kind of doing it. There is some builders and stuff like that I've been kind of having a bit of a play around with, but as it currently stands, I'm actually kind of open to getting some advice in terms of how to kind of get that approach down, add some more character to it, because I think most of the time when it comes to, I guess, character that I've been trying to put into any Legion stuff has thus far kind of been just kind of going through from a paint job perspective rather than being able to put anything through as a modeling perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. I might have some ideas that you might enjoy.
Yeah.
So I apologise, Elle, but you don't really do the modelling side of things, so
No, I don't. So I'm honestly I'm quite happy just to sit back and just to listen to what you guys have got, to be honest. So go ahead.
In terms of sort of kit bashing, in terms of Legions, my methods and my sort of thoughts in terms of the infantry scale, Astartes and Solar, and obviously Admech and Darkmech, is mostly basing. Is where you're going to get the majority of your flavour from, I think, because the stock standard way of building Legions is to use the pre-made plastic disc bases with nothing on them. And I've seen some thoughts and opinions that you can't really do any additional modelling on the bases because the models are so small and they're quite compact on the bases. I've proven that wrong on my stuff. I've put extra gribbly bits on my bases and that every single base, so I know it works and it can be done, and there's definitely some scope for doing some more interesting basing as well. It's like on my Titans and stuff, I've got like broken bits of buildings and stuff, so you could definitely apply that to a smaller base. Have your commander standing on top of a parapet or something, sword in hand and stuff like that. That's how you can kind of get a little bit of action to your base. And I've seen a couple of good ones, not too many, but I've seen a couple of good ones, like some jump pack troops on top of like lampposts and stuff. I've seen people do on Instagram.
That's cool.
Which is quite cool. So it's predominantly basing. Now you can utilise a bit of 3D printing. There are some really nice 3D printed characters which you can use to swap out for the like the main commander of a command squad or something. There's some really, really nice ones that I've already included in my Alpha Legion, and I've seen some that we're going to add into some of the some of the Night Lord bases. So the Night Lord base I've done is just the stock standard one, but the other 3 I've got to do are all going to have a new character. So I'm just going to swap out the big guy with the sword and replace it with a different character. So a small little change like that is kind of enough. But when it comes to the larger things, I have found that it's when you start getting to the knights and above where you can really play with kit bashing. There's a lot more freedom, and again, because they are larger, they are much closer to 28mm scale. So there's lots of options for new bits, conversions, potentially green stuff. I mean, I don't play a chaos tainted faction. But I could definitely see there being some really good, fun things you could do with like the knight kits, like gouging out chunks of the armor plates and green stuffing some tentacles coming out and fleshy tendrils and stuff. There's lots of cool things you can do there. And I think potentially, depending on the armies you're going to use and what's your focus, you should potentially pick a centerpiece or a few models that are going to be the characters of your army. Now, for me, that's quite easy because my main faction, so to speak, is the knights. So therefore, I've already kind of given myself the faction that's going to be quite easy to convert and do stuff with. So at the moment, I've got a plan for doing a series of knight characters, which don't technically exist as part of Legions, but guess what? We can write our own rules. So I've got some ideas of doing some, massive capes to go on the backs of some Zarestus pattern knights. I've also got an idea for like a few Psyker focused knights with some cool, more domed head pieces and maybe some other elements that I'll add to make them look a little bit more ostentatious compared to the rest. So you can kind of see them very quickly, cool, that's a conversion.
Yeah.
So there's I don't have lots of ways to do stuff for the really small scale stuff. But I think the key there is going to be the basing. Whereas for the larger stuff, I would say just pick a couple of things. You don't need to convert everything. And that's the way you get them. Unless you really want to go for like a full-on chaos corrupted Titan army, if you like. In which case, go to town, because those models are phenomenal, and you don't need many of them to make an army. So why not?
Yeah.
So that would be my stance on it.
Yeah. No, it's a good stance on it. I think you're definitely right there that there is probably more to do in the basing that more to do in the basing when it comes to Legion scale, because you can't really do the same kind of level of customization of characters that you would see at 28mm. And it's a thing actually that I thought about doing is almost using the bases as almost like a mini kind of diorama.
That's exactly the kind of thing I think you want to be doing, is treating particularly like character bases or commander bases as mini dioramas.
Yeah. So I mean that's definitely something I'm going to be kind of looking at doing with the guys I've got some really fun little commander units, or some ones to kind of throw in that I'm going to be throwing kind of into like some of the squads as well, just to mix things up. Like I've got like a Dark Apostle style character, which I'm definitely going to be throwing onto some stuff, and like a what they call the Master of Possession. So I've got one of those, and actually is designed to be floating. So I was actually going to ask, if you were going to do a character like floating off of the ground, what would you use for that? Like that little bit of just like showing them floating. Because my first thought was just like a little paperclip, like a bit of a paperclip just into the base.
Yeah, which if you want to just simulate floating, that's probably your best way of doing it. Other than that, I would probably borrow some ideas from some of the 28mm scale models, like the Grimnir from the Leaks of Otan, where he's like walking on floating rocks. You just build up a rock pattern and then just stick him on the top.
Yeah, it works well.
Stuff like that. Or you could, if you really wanted to, especially as you're doing the sort of darker factions, you might be able to do something with a little bit of either green stuff or some other medium to create like a blood spatter that's kind of going up into the air.
Cool.
Almost like he's surfing on blood almost. There's some really cool funky things you probably could do.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that actually approach for it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, no. Sorry, I'm just like yeah.
Okay. So we've kind of gone through, how we've approached it, the top-down, bottom-up approaches, the sort of the all-over approach almost, or the accidental approach in my case of, oh, I happen to paint this model, I love it, so let's paint the whole army. And we obviously discussed ways to sort of customise and make your armies your own. Obviously, there is painting on top of that and picking your own schemes. That's kind of universal to Warhammer in general, and probably most, if not all, painting-based hobbies anyway. I think the last thing I probably want to touch on is what would be our ideal completed army. So if we got to a point where we were done with Legions and we had our dream, 10, 20, 50, 100,000 point army.
Oh my God.
What would it look like? What would it look like if you had infinite funds? You could have it all painted for you. What would it look like?
Is it bad I've already kind of had a dream about this?
Dreaming about Warhammer?
Yeah, I've started doing that.
Welcome to the hobby.
Yeah!
Oh,
Like,
my heart.
but it's really weird that the fact that I actually had a dream the other night. I was out late and that maybe had a couple of drinks and I had a dream that of just dancing space marines for some reason. So yeah. Anyway, anyway, get your mind out of the gutter if you think no. No.
I was just confused.
We're more confused now than we were before, but
I thought you were accusing me. Anyway, doesn't matter.
No.
But no, yeah, I have had thoughts about my perfect bulked out army, what that would look like. I don't know, I want maybe 10 armored companies, so it's just a massive brick of tanks.
You want a sea of tanks.
Yeah. I definitely have started using the term the blue tide with the Night Lords. The dark blue tide would probably work a little bit better for them.
I take it back what I said earlier. It is more like Iron Warriors, isn't it?
I mean, actually, hold on. Melee focused, hordes of units. You're secretly a Black Templars player.
That's that.
Melee focused.
Do you know
lots
what?
Of units. No, it's either that or it's World Eaters. One of the two. But the fact that you want the tanks as well, and Black Templars did get their own special version of the Land Raider, which was the Land Raider Crusader, and they were the only ones that were allowed to take it for a period of time.
I think, honestly, you calling me a Black Templars player is worse than when you started calling me a furry for playing She-Wolves.
Wow.
So, I mean, ouch. But, but yeah, so...
So, essentially what we're looking at then is a tidal wave of blue armoured tanks.
Yeah, and definitely a lot more torture boys at that point. But I think if we are talking about our dream army, then my dream would probably be to have flyers in there. I'd love my own I can never remember what they're called.
Stormbird.
No, I mean, yes, obviously, but no, it's a really long ship, and you can put flyers on it and it's like is it like a battle barge or something like that, or like
Are you thinking of a spaceship? Or you're really, really badly confusing the really, really obscure Space Marine lander that you could put rhinos on, not flyers.
The Thunderhawk that can drop off rhinos.
Yeah, I would love.
Okay.
I would love something like that.
Kind of makes sense. Kind of ties in the whole mechanized thing, I suppose.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying I have a print for that one.
I'm sure you do. Okay, so we've got the mechanical blue tide of Night Lords. That's
basically
not what someone would normally expect, but also probably quite cool.
I think it would be, yeah.
John, what would your final form be?
The ideal final form of what I'd actually like this army to be is I think a reasonable mix of word bearers. The ideal one would be I'd like enough of every unit to be able to at least try everything out. Past that point, the word bearer side of it is I want to have some fun little characters kind of going on, but if I came up with if I could find the right models and the right rules, and the rules part is easy. It's actually the models part that's the hardest. I would actually just like to go. The word bearers get scaled back, and the demons are the front. And that would actually be my ideal one. Is I want to go I almost want to slowly chaos corrupt my actual army. So it's going to start off now with just we've got all these little Marines, and then slowly the Marines start going away and getting replaced with more and more demons coming in.
I mean, I feel like that's got a campaign narrative written in there.
The kind of the Dark Mechanica side is I like the idea of, and I would almost kind of my ideal one would be having representations of the four gods as demons alongside this kind of dark mech force, and just these almost the remnants of what's left of these word bearers after they've been we've sacrificed everybody to summon all these demons. Off they go.
Okay.
I really like the idea of going kind of hard down the demon route in Legions. The problem I've currently got, actually, and we're talking about the ideal one, I just don't have the models for that at that moment in time. I would definitely think about running things like the what's the word? The Great and Clean one, Keeper of Secrets, Bloodletter, the Keeper of Lord of Change. Having those four as basically Bloodthirster, sorry. Bloodletter's the little ones, aren't they? Which, if you chuck those on a Legion's table, they're corn demons the size of knights then, which would be fun. But I need something, I need some small demons to go along with it.
Yeah, you need the demonic tide.
Yeah, I would take, even if they went with, actually we're not going to do the four gods demons, we're just going to do demons in general, because I had a look at what they're doing for Horus Heresy, and what I could see there is that they're just referred to as just demons rather than the specific four chaos factions.
Yeah, they're a little bit more almost undivided rather than divided.
And I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy. I'd just take some demons.
I mean, it's entirely possible. We just need some good little 8mm prints potentially. That's
the problem.
I would honestly love to see a Great Unclean one on the table.
I've just realised I could. Sorry, I've just realised I could justify potentially trying to buy Be'lakor.
I do. I want that model. I don't even play demons, but I want that model. I do like Be'lakor as well, but
I could. He is Chaos Undivided.
He is Chaos Undivided. Well,
What's yours, Jamie?
I mean, considering the scale of my army already, you can imagine the scale of my dream is probably...
Terrifying.
Yeah, it would be somewhat enormous. I mean, I've already got it in my head that at some point I want to be able to run every formation maxed out for Knights, Titans, Solar. The Astartes not so much. I'd like to maybe run a couple of like air wings maxed out, because I like my Alpha Legion, but they're just my little side project. They're just kind of there. But the other three, I'd like to just go, right, I just want to run a full Axiom mana pool for Knights. You know, all the Titans. I want to run a full Barony Guard Lance. I want to run an entire armoured company of Solar Auxilia. So, yeah, just lots and lots and lots of stuff. Like, the massive Titans in the back, the Knights coming in next, the Solar Auxilia just charging in front, getting blown up.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've used this quote before in one of our shows, but I am not Horus. I will unleash my legions.
Yes, very much that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm scarily on the way to that goal already.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you are. There's no two ways about it. Yes, you are scarily close to just being able to be like, I have a legion now.
I have all of it.
Yeah, I do have a...
I mean, mercifully, there are still some gaps in your army.
There are, not many.
Not many.
I mean, there's only 2 Titan kits I don't own.
Which we were thinking about grabbing the other day.
Yeah, I thought about it, but then I realised I still have the rest of the Night Lords to paint and a backlog of my own, so, you know.
And we also need to eat, so...
That one's optional.
I can live off plastic, right?
No,
Yeah.
I can't! Thank
I mean,
you.
they come in cardboard boxes. Just like chewing up those.
Yeah, there's some calories in cardboard.
Ew. Gross. So gross. Both of you.
So yes, we've got lots of hopes and dreams. Not sure that we'll ever get to quite the scale we want to, but you never know.
I think you will.
I think I probably will end up getting there. I mean, I'm not far off it in some...
I was going to say, it's not even that much of a pipe dream at this stage, is it?
No, I mean, I have looked, and I'm not far off being able to max out at least the compulsory slots on all of the night formations.
I definitely would at least like to have my tide of tanks. I think that's pretty achievable.
Yeah, I think you'll probably end up with... I'm sure you will end up with a tide of tanks.
Yeah.
We've got our
Hopes and dreams.
and maybe one day they'll happen, and maybe one day we'll unleash them all on the channel.
I
That
mean,
would be
I feel like
awesome.
even if the rest of us combined all of our forces against you, we would not make a dent.
I mean, based on what everyone currently has, no. No, I think I have enough armies that I could just pick an army to play each of you.
Just
still
play
have
3
that.
games at the same time.
You still have that Necron army kicking about as well.
Oh, I still have that in the back as well. That's army number 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have lots of armies.
Just a few. Just a few.
Right, well,
Ooh.
I think that is pretty much it for the main discussions for today.
Yeah,
That's a
I
good
think
place to
so.
start to wrap up.
Sounds like a good place to start.
I think it is probably time to move over to the roundup. So we'll see you over in the round table in just a moment.
See you there.
And welcome back. So we are going to close out with the roundtable, where we just have a quick little overview about what we discussed before signing off. So at the beginning of today's session, we had our Tankard Talk, where we discussed the hobby progress, and we've had we've had some nice progress. We've got another army well on the way in the Night Lords. We've got some kill team being done and a few test models. And then we also had a lovely entry from one of our community members who showed off their absolutely astonishing board of Legions terrain.
Yeah, super impressed with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there aren't words to describe how impressive it was.
Looking forward to see what comes next.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I just thought, actually, I'm probably one of the only people that's got enough troops to actually fight on that board.
You could fill the board.
Yeah.
I could actually probably fight on that board.
Yeah.
And then obviously we moved into the main topic of discussion, which is our conversation on narrative gaming and narrative armies in Legions. And I think really we've come up to quite a nice conclusion that not only is it possible to make and create narrative forces in Legions, because I think there is a thought initially from 28mm players that you lose character by going to 8mm. And I don't think that's true at all, and I think we've proven that today.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think...
Oh, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, in terms of, I think the, Legions almost in a weird way lends itself to a different way of approaching characters, which I think is the other big thing is you've just got to think about it from a different perspective. It's not this character has this equipment, it's what's this character, how is this character leading that army? Yeah,
it's definitely more of a macro scale approach to creating a character.
Yeah,
and I think there might be some work we could do, maybe rules wise, to make characters feel a little bit more special, maybe. But that's probably that's definitely a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I think we've proven the point that characterful factions and characters are possible at 8mm, and not only possible, but dare I say, more epic.
Hey. That was so corny. Oh yeah, that was really bad.
you got to do what you can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is pretty much the be all and end all. Really, is go and make creative armies. Don't be worried about where you start. If you just have this one idea from one character, that will spawn an army. If you like certain models, that will spawn an army. If you paint something randomly and think, oh, I like painting this, let's make an army. It can be done. It's easy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm quite happy with the discussion we've had today. I think we've been very informative in a lot of ways, and we've learned a few things.
Very happy.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, one thing I'm gonna mention is that we are hosting now live streams every week over on Twitch. You can find us at Mead Wargaming. They will be happening, as of this recording, every Thursdays. Predominantly, potentially going to be just me solo running, depending on who is free. There will be additional streams that won't be scheduled for when Els is free, and we'll be jumping on together to do discussions. So sometimes that will happen on the Thursday. Sometimes it will just be random when those pop up, but there will always be one on Thursday regardless.
Yeah.
So please do head over and join us and have a chat and watch me paint an army of someone else's. Potentially just the Night Lords, potentially something else. Or potentially I'll finally get into my own army again.
Nah, not allowed.
But other than that, please do go and find us over on
Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube.
the social media expert there. So yes, please go and find us over on those. Give us a follow. And if you've enjoyed what we've done today, please do let us know in the comments. Let us know how we could improve. Let us know your opinions on narrative gaming in Legions Imperialis. If you'd like to send in your progress as well, find us on the socials and give us contact, and we'll quite happily take a look at what you've got, and we'll add you into our Tankard Talk spotlight. If we get enough of you, we might stop talking about our own stuff and just focus on you guys. Which is also fine by us, because we share our own stuff on the socials all the time.
Yeah.
Please, save me from the shame.
John from shame, potentially, sometimes. So yes, do all that, and please do share with your friends, your local communities, that we are here and what we're doing. The YouTube algorithm is apparently an absolute nightmare, and to be honest, it is. And I think one of the best ways that we can get around the algorithm is to not use it and rely on the good old-fashioned method of word of mouth. So please do share, and hopefully we'll grow our community together. But with that being said, that is all from us here at Mead Gaming. I have been Jay, your host for today, and I have been joined by
Al.
And John.
Thank you very much, and we will see you next time in the Mead Hall. Goodbye for now.
Bye.